I once wrote this little book, Bartender's Guide to Providence, How the World Really Works. Uh, there was a lady named Marie who was a bartender in Little Ricky's in Winnetka, Illinois, and I was there part of the time in maybe 2010, 2009 for a couple of years, maybe three. And my wife and I had a business up there. And I got to know her, and she would ask for an explanation about troubles in her life, cancer she had, etc., and family troubles. And I was explaining providence of God to her when I could between customers. We became friends, and I learned to give her the answers in common language because hers wasn't a strong religious background. So eventually I wrote the book in the same tone, Bartender's Guide to Providence, How the World Really Works. And it covers God's sovereignty for believers and unbelievers, something that people often neglect. And it's a lot of it's my personal story as well. But in this case, I wanted to focus on something that happens in 1 Kings 22, a wonderful story and about God's providence and how it works. And since I only have a moment, I'll give you the short version here, although I'd love to tell this for an hour, to be honest with you. Ahab, after I should start with, once Solomon's dead, Israel has a string of terrible kings. Ahab's the worst. He makes his life worse by marrying a miserable creature called Jezebel. Yes, that Jezebel. A more wicked couple. There was a couple of the year in the wicked society. They get it annually, I can tell you that. So God's provoked with them. Eventually, Elijah's going to come and prophesy their demise. And this is how God brings it about to make sure his prophet's correct. Ahab fashions himself to be a man of war. He wants to go against Syria. He enlists Jehoshaphat to help him, who Jehoshaphat's actually a good guy, but he played dumb here. I remember one time Charles Spurgeon had a thing he wrote called the John Plowman. And John Plowman was a common man, and he said, you should never try to lick dew off of honey. I mean, honey off of thorns, I'm sorry. Honey off of thorns. That's pretty good advice. So that's what follows. Jehoshaphat joins in. Now, they're going to go out to battle, and Ahab's real crafty. So he says to Jehoshaphat, look, we go out to get it serious. You wear all the robes and all that stuff. You get all the honors. But really what he was doing was hiding as a common soldier in the back line because he was afraid to die. And he thought they'd come for the king first. Sure, the battle starts to rage. The Syrians say, look, there's the king, They're going to go after Jehoshaphat. So Jehoshaphat, unaware that how stupid that move was, now he's in Panic City. But what ends up happening is this passage shows up to tell you how God deals with Ahab, who's hiding as a common man in the middle of nowhere where God surely can't find him. A certain man, this is verse 34 of chapter 22 of 1 Kings. A certain man drew a bow at random and struck the king of Israel between the joints of his armor. So he said to the driver of his chariot, turn around and take me out of the battle, for I am wounded. So here you can imagine that day, if you can picture it. He's hiding amongst all these people, being as anonymous as he can be. And he is anonymous to the Syrians. He's not anonymous to the God who intends to execute him that day. A man shoots a random arrow. He's not even, he got a Syrian archer. He's not even aiming. He's just firing into the air like you see in those movies. And he's just firing one after another. Only that arrow is meant for Ahab. And the prophecies that Elijah had made about him, about his dogs and blood, they're all going to come to pass here. And shortly thereafter, the prophecies concerning Jezebel come to pass, and the dogs are going to eat her. Okay? So God executes these people in kind of a distinctive way. My point is this. God sovereignly controlled your life, the life of your unbelieving brother, and all human beings. And it's most easy for him to deal with you whenever he wants, in whichever way he wants, just as he did with Ahab.